Namaste. And first of all, I would like to welcome you all in this second live event, which is being organized by KFA Business School. And the name of the program is KFA Business Affairs, Entrepreneur's Voice. Well, this is an attempt of KFA Business School to bring the voice of different entrepreneurs from the country to you all. Myself, Bivechan Khanal, your moderator for the event, and my guest speakers for today's program, and they've joined us live in Facebook, and also we'll be discussing on a new topic today. So without any further ado, let me introduce and welcome our guest speakers for today's program. So today also I have two guest speakers with me, and they both belong from the hospitality industry. They are highly experienced, energetic, and I must say young entrepreneurs of the country with a lot of reputation with their names. My first guest speaker for today's program is Ms. Shreejana Rana. She is the Executive Director of Annapurna Group of Hotels and also the present President of Hotel Association Nepal. Ms. Rana is also the General Assembly Member of SAARC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, SCCI, and the Founder Member and an Advisor of SAARC Chamber Women Entrepreneurs Council, that is SCWEC. She is also the Area Director of Zonta International and also the Founder Member and President of Zonta Club Kathmandu. My second guest speaker for today's program is Mr. Rahul Shakya. He is the Managing Director of Hotel Ambassador and Club Himalaya by Ace Hotels, and is also an Executive Member of Hotel Association Nepal. Welcome, Shreejana ma'am and Rahul sir, in this live event, and thank you once again for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Bivechan. Thank you for having us.
So it's our pleasure, sir. So before we move to the official discussion session, I would like to inform our viewers regarding the topic of today's program. So the topic is impact of COVID-19 and way forward for the hotel industry. On this topic, we would be discussing with our guest speakers today. And also, in the course of our discussion, I would also take a few questions of our viewers. And I must say sorry for the fact that we might not able to take all your questions because of time constraint. And also, since we are in a lockdown state and coming live to you from our respective houses, there might be technical glitches at times, which we'll try to avoid as much as possible. But if it happens, please forgive us for that. Now, having said all these things, let's quickly move to the discussion session. And I would like to start my first question with Shreejana ma'am. Ma'am, if you may allow me. All right. So, ma'am, how do you look at the scenario of hotel industry as a result of this pandemic?
So, thank you so much for having me here in this discussion. It's a pleasure to be able to share with, especially, I think there are a lot of students in this, the viewers are more students and whoever it is. You see, what happened was, as we all know, that 2020 was announced as Visit Nepal year, and while we were on the process of all the preparation, the marketing, the identification of a lot of products in Nepal, a situation like this came about, which we were taken totally off guard. But then, it is a situation which the whole world is suffering, and it's also understood that all over the world, the tourism sector has had the biggest impact, because of this situation. So while, we were expecting more tourists coming into the country because of this catastrophic situation, but we are at a completely standstill, especially when the government announced the lockdown, and then the airport was closed, and finally the border area was closed, because you remember we also have the tourists coming in from land Barabani, there's tourists for arrival.
Awesome.
So both ways, there's been a completely, it's a closed chapter for the hotel. And now there is not even one tourist coming into the country. So at the moment, we are completely taken off guard. And we know that when we're looking at the news, we're looking at all the situation where, the 270 countries, the tourist destinations are completely closed. And, the advisory, the precaution, they're not allowing their citizens to travel. And the airlines, few airlines, prominent airlines have also been, collapsing. So we don't see that 2020 there is any chance for us to bounce back, and 2021 still looks very bleak to us.
Very true, ma'am. So, अहिले जुन यो situation आएको छ, and then we've been driven down to zero, as you said. The business is nothing right now. So, how long do you think this might, prevail? I mean, or how long do you think it might take for the industry to recover from this inevitable loss?
Right. So, look, keeping in touch with the economists, the analysis, and hearing the other countries' opinion, looking at our own situation in the country and with our own experience, we are pretty sure, we are 100% sure that 2020 is impossible, and 2021 will still have to wait till October to see how things are going to go. But then we will still say 2021 is a closed chapter for tourism. But then whenever we make plans, there are always two types of plans that we make. One is a short term and one is long term. So अहिलेको सन्दर्भमा होटल इन्डस्ट्रीले चाहिँ नि 6 months सर्भाइभल स्ट्र्याटेजी बनाएको छ र रिभाइभलको लागि त त्यो त दोस्रो विषय नै भयो. I don't think so we can even talk about it. And then later on, if you do have some questions on a survival strategy, we have been discussing, but at the moment our issue is very much survival. So 6 months is what we are planning, and after that we are going to again sit and evaluate and see how to take this forward for the year 2021.
Very true, ma'am. Since हजुरले भनिहाल्नुभयो that 2020 is gone already, and even the government the year 2020 Visit Nepal 2020 has been postponed already. So यस्तो scenario, ma'am, how should the industry come ahead in coping with the adverse effect of this pandemic? अहिले initially गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ के जस्तो लाग्छ हजुरलाई?
Okay, so what happened was this situation came about, and then even the government started trying to put their work together and see, because the packages is what every country has received, most of the countries have received, and we are also waiting for that package, because a situation like this, every citizen, be it the investor or the employees, always look at the government for support, and or hand holding, because issue like this doesn't belong to just the investors, but it is the employee and government. So how can we come together, the tri-party come together and work together to come out of this situation is what we started working. Unfortunately, to be very honest with you, because I am not, I don't really speak the, political language. So I'm very, I'm very clear about what I think and what I see, and I just speak my mind out. Disappointment was that when we actually started doing the finance ministry actually started doing their homework, even the tourism ministry, the same mistake that we made during the earthquake, where the statistic, the figure was not in place, that same problem has been repeated. Because when a situation like this comes, every ministry requires not only the ministry, anybody, whether you run your house, you run your business, or you run the country, you have to have the statistics on table. So मलाई चाहिँ के लाग्यो भने गभर्नमेन्टको कति कमजोरी रहेछ कि उहाँहरुसँग स्ट्याटिस्टिक्स छैन. उहाँहरु हामीसँग त्यो बेलामा सोध्नुहुन्छ के छ तिम्रो इन्भेस्टमेन्ट, कतिवटा होटल छ, किन हामीले त्यो सबै जवाब दिन पर्छ र दिउला. तर things like, what is the investment, that the Rashtra Bank should have the figure on the table. How many employees, the Labour Ministry should have the figure on the table, What is the interest, what is the tax that we pay? The tax office should have that figure. How many, कुन countryबाट कुन टुरिस्टहरु आउँछ बढी मात्रामा, त्यो सबै इन्फर्मेसन कोले राख्न पर्ने, कुन मन्त्रालयले राख्न पर्ने, त्यो नभएको चाहिँ was the biggest disappointment for me, because without that it weakens you to make decision when you don't have those figures on the table. So what I saw was that was one of the biggest weakness. Secondly, Rahul is here with me today. He is much younger than I am. So he's also one of the member of my executive committee, and he's seen us, writing letters to the concerned ministries. And this young generation look at me and ask me, President, ma'am, where is the answer to your letter? And I look at them and I say, well, just be patient because नेपालमा अर्कै माहौल छ काम गर्ने तर तपाईले भनी हो भने कुनै पनि एसोसिएसन कुनै पनि इन्डिभिजुअललाई तपाईले कदर गर्नुपर्छ यदि क्वेशन आएको खण्डमा गर्न सक्ने नगर्न सक्ने either you have to wait भन्ने किसिमको इन्फर्मेसनहरु चाहिँ मन्त्रालयबाट आउन पनि जरुरत छ बेला बेलामा बोलाएर डिस्कसन गरेर कसरी अगाडि बढ्ने भनेर लगानीकर्ता र कर्मचारी दुईटैको हकमा उहाँहरूले बोल्नु पर्छ र उहाँहरूले पनि पर्छ भने not to make a situation where the investors and the employees are confronting each other, rather to make all of us understand that let's bring out a best solution that we can work together and come out of this one. अहिलेलाई यही नै मेरो यो weakness चाहिँ मलाई हाम्रो countryको यही लागिरहेको छ which I wanted to share with you.
Yes, very true, ma'am. पक्कै पनि कुनै पनि एनालाइसिस गर्नको लागि अथवा कुनै पनि प्रोजेक्टमा काम गर्नको लागि स्ट्याटिस्टिक्स आर द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट थिङ हामीसँग डाटा भयो भने we can plan accordingly, we can make strategies accordingly. So all the entities need to come together as you said, and we need to have proper data beforehand to take things further. So with that, I would continue my questions with Rahul sir. Now, if you may allow, sir, what impact will this pandemic have with regard to the contribution from hotel industry in the country's economy? हजुरले यो सिचुएसनलाई कसरी हेर्नु भएको छ?
Thank you for the question, Bivechan. I think if you really look at the real revenue that's coming in from tourism in Nepal, I mean, like Shreejana ma'am said, first of all, our statistics are very weak. I mean, in the actual, but whatever data is available online in the government websites, according to that, if we see 2019, we have about 418 million US dollars coming in. So that was the 19 number, whereas in 18 it was about 643 million US dollars. Similarly, I think hotel industry in Nepal's GDP is almost not a hotel industry, it's a tourism industry. Let me say, when I say tourism, it is probably you have your travel trade, you have your vehicle movements, airlines, all of that considering, it's almost 10% of the GDP ma tapeko aउँछ हैन. And त्यसमा पनि specifically hotel industry चाहिँ almost 2.5 to 3% को आधारमा आउँछ. So it's a big number when you look at it in the larger perspective. And I think because we are in such a situation that no one had actually predicted, or no one could have said यस्तो पनि दिन आउँछ where everything is locked down. And the unfortunate part is it's not about Nepal only, it's a global problem, So I think globally itself, even global numbers here, like here, tourism has almost 8.8 billion revenue coming in every year in the global perspective, right? So it's going to be a big global, not only in Nepal global hit. So I think it's going to be a big issue with especially economy in the financial sector for the hospitality and tourism also.
Yes, पक्कै पनि आगामी दिनमा एकदम च्यालेन्जेसहरु हाम्रो अगाडि पर्खिरहेछ, and it's going to hit hard to the economy, the contribution that has been made from the hotel industry or the tourism industry as a whole. As you said, 2.5 to 3% is contributed from the hotel industry, so that is not coming anytime soon. And also, if I'm not wrong, your pandemic भन्दा अगाडि there was a minimum of 70% of the tourists arriving in the country, which has gone down to zero. And if you talk about the revenue also, 418 million US dollar was the revenue that was earned as foreign exchange revenue in the year 2018 and 19. And त्यसको figures it's surely going to go down because of this pandemic. So a thing to worry about for the whole country. But as I said, जहिले पनि negatively मात्रै हेर्नु भन्दा पनि there are positive aspects also to focus on right now. So how can we bring all the entities together and do something for the betterment of this industry is the most important thing, I guess. So with that, I would again proceed with Shreejana ma'am. Now let's talk about your association, Hotel Association Nepal. So as the present president of HAN, what according to you are the primary roles of your association to protect the hospitality industry from the adverse effect of this pandemic, ma'am?
Right. So at the moment, I think everybody's mindset has to be not to actually come in confrontation with each other saying, this is what I want and this is what you give on that. I think the mindset should be how to save the industry. So that is what everybody has to understand. Now, at the moment, there are three issues that the hotel members are facing. One, of course, the newer hotels who have taken a huge amount of loan to establish these new hotels in Kathmandu and outside Kathmandu. They have a very big problem about loan, how to service the loan, and in this, and then hotels like ours, old hotels have nearly 40%. Now, I just want to share a little bit about how the hotels are running in Nepal, especially the old hotels, long-established hotels. The problem with us is like our manpower, employment salary, that comes to about nearly 40%. Now, you see, that is a very, very wrong number, because I think in the world, I think the statistic, Rahul, would you know how many percent?
Yeah, globally, I think your HR cost should be anywhere between 17 to 22% maximum is what global was.
Right, so we are that, right? So Bhani Bitike, our strategy is not right. But then what happened was, hamlai pani labor law allow gardaina to to sort of cut down the staff or allow gardaina. So tele gardakheri pani how we are running our businesses is to make sure that let the staffs also be able to survive, and even the investors should survive. So you see, this is where you don't see a very big profitability, because a lot of people think hotels make a real big amount of profit, but then because our running cost is so high, our profitability is very, very low. So I mentioned to you about one new hotels issue is the loan that they have to service. Hotels, old hotels and big hotels have issues like this. And then the smaller hotels, they usually take this land and house on lease and run the hotel. So unharko tinta issue bhayo. Okay? So these are the three problems that we have. So now when we go to the government, or when we, as you said, how are you planning to like survive oiliko situation ma bhanda? Employees are like unharलाई chai euta उनीहरु पनि सर्भाइभ गर्नु परिहाल्यो. सो के गर्ने त भनेर भन्दाखेरि हामीले workshop, because in my association I make it this habit that I do a lot of workshop with the members that the voice is the same. So we have the same our decision is common. So we had experts also to come in and look at our figures and all that, and we realized that हामीले दिन सक्ने employees को उनीहरुलाई पहिला त अहिले हाम्रो सर्भाइभ गर्नको लागि दुईटा छ के दुईटा कम्पोनेन्ट छ एउटा एम्प्लोइज को अनि एउटा एम्प्लोयर्स को. सो आई एम कमिङ टु द एम्प्लोइज को इश्यू हैन. सो एम्प्लोइजलाई चाहिँ कसरी उनीहरु सर्भाइभ गर्ने, उनीहरुलाई कसरी सर्भाइभ गराउने, हामीले कति दिन सक्छौं त when there is zero income भन्दाखेरि we came up with a figure 12.50% on their basic salary, which of course is not at all a good amount, but then reality that has to be faced, and that was the reality that we could afford that much. तर अरूको बिजनेस हेरेर चाहिँ होटलको सन्दर्भमा चाहिँ हाम्रो सेवा शुल्क हुन्छ, सर्भिस चार्ज, which others don't have. र सेवा शुल्क जुन त्यो सर्भिस चार्जमा चाहिँ नि कहिलेकाहीँ उनीहरुको salary बराबरको पनि हुन्छ. सो अहिलेको सिचुएसनमा चाहिँ we distribute that service charge every 6 months. So we had that 6 months for service charge, which with us, I mean, thank God for that. That amount is ready with us. So if you divide into 6 months, ठुलो होटलमा चाहिँ हाराहारी 8,000 to 15,000 per employee हुन्छ. Sometimes they get even the same amount as their own salary, sometimes depending on the business, but then November month has been really good. So balance out गर्दाखेरि उनीहरुको सर्भिस चार्ज पनि राम्रै छ हैन. सो त्यो सर्भिस चार्ज उनीहरुको हामीले दिने 12.50 हामीले हाम्रो खल्तीबाट हाल्ने लगानीकर्ताले, र गभर्नमेन्टले चाहिँ यसलाई नपुगेको खण्डमा एउटा we wanted to call it job retention fund भनेर क्रिएट गरिदियो भनेदेखि चाहिँ यो वातावरण लिएर आउन सक्यो भने, एन्ड देन गभर्नमेन्टले हामीले दिएको रकम र उनीहरुको सर्भिस चार्जमा okay, this much I can match it, or we could give भन्यो भनेदेखि अहिलेको सिचुएसनलाई चाहिँ नि till 2000, for 6 months from today, we might be able to, get the business not going. It's not going to get going, but then to be able to survive, to be able to save the organization, to be able to pay the staff a very minimum salary for them to survive.
So, which
So
means
that's
the Hotel Association Nepal planning so that the three, concerned issues, as you mentioned regarding the labor cost zone of industry standard when that double भएको कारणले how to protect the employees also from losing their jobs. त्यो र big hotel names हरू जुन पनि जति पनि हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरूको लोन इस्युजहरूको जुन कुरा छ र even the small hotels who've taken land on lease to run the business. So यो तीनटा फ्याक्टरलाई चाहिँ कसरी रेक्टिफाई गर्ने र कसरी प्रपरली एड्रेस गर्ने भन्ने कुरामा होटल एसोसिएसन नेपाल लागिरहेछ भन्ने जानकारी हामीलाई म्यामले दिनुभयो. थ्याङ्क यू सो मच फर द्याट म्याम. नाउ
I'm so sorry, but I forgot to add something. I spoke to you regarding the employees issue, how to address that. For the investors issue चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि अब हामीले त्यसलाई पनि 8 बुँदामा राखेको छ, because instead of elaborating, it's always best to put it as pointers. So that's what we've done. So now for the investors of course हामीलाई चाहिँ नि moratorium period मा हामीलाई एउटा सुविधा प्रदान गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने छ. Then we've talked about loan refinancing facility. We've talked about interest घटाउने, rescheduling, restructuring, short-term loan, working loan भनेर
capital
loan, interest loan. So all these things we put together and we forwarded to the concerned ministry and even to the Rashtra Bank, like basically कर्जालाई चाहिँ categorization of loan in lower category गर्न नपर्ने, यस्तै हामीलाई सुविधा चाहिन्छ भनेर 8 वटा पोइन्टर्समा हामीले त्यसलाई क्लियरली बुझाएका छौं गभर्नमेन्टलाई. त्यही दुईटा पार्ट भयो.
All right, thank you so much for that valuable information, ma'am. Now with that, I would again move to Rahul sir. So now alikati अब यो tourist को perspective बाट पनि हेरौं हैन, हामीले just with a minimum expectation of a large number of tourists flowing in the country anytime soon, which is obvious thing to happen as we predict. How do you think the hotel industry can contribute in attracting tourists and guests? हामीले कसरी contribute गर्न सक्छौं as being a member of hotel industry?
See, I think this is not only a national Nepal ko matra problem haina. This is it's a global problem. So all the hotels around the world are facing the same challenge that we are facing today, that how are we going to attract, once everything comes back to normal, hopefully it will be soon, but how do we attract the clients coming in again? So I think the bigger challenge will be when actually the lockdown opens, then there's going to be a global kind of a competition between hotels to attract international clients more, because at the end of the day, it is a global pandemic. So that's a big challenge that I see, or that I feel is going to be for Nepal, because of course, the infrastructure that we have is quite weak, to be honest and straightforward. So I think maybe this is also an opportunity for us to rethink our strategies in terms of long run tourism, Usma. So like government had announced Visit Nepal 2020 this year, unfortunately because of the pandemic now everything is, all the plans have been shattered. So maybe it's a good idea not to, start immediately, and maybe give it a time so that we can develop our country in terms of infrastructure to actually get our standards up to global standards. So I think, if you really ask me, 2021, maybe 2022 is a good idea to say, okay, 2022 we will do a Visit Nepal campaign for 2022 and take 2021 as a whole internal facilities, especially for international clients and tourists alike. So I think that would be a biggest challenge in terms of global, because like I said, it's competing with all the other nations, all the other hospitality sectors around the world. And because it's a global pandemic and because our system is so weak, I think we need to strengthen our foundations first in order to the global market. So that's one. In terms of the other thing is, you can also say domestic tourism, so you can ask it. I think there is a possibility of domestic tourism in Nepal, but then I think we have to also look at perspectives of psychological effects of this coronavirus. Like any other pandemics or any other disasters, it tends to stick for some time even after the period is over. What we call in psychological terms PTSD, post-traumatic disorder. So just giving my example, if bholi tapeko lockdown khole bhane, would I feel safe to go out? Maybe not. Would I psychologically be able to go to a restaurant or a hotel to really, enjoy that? Psychologically, it might be totally safe. Don't get me wrong. Tapeko hotel, restaurant, they might take all the precaution measures to clean, desanitize. But then psychologically also, it takes time for people to adapt to, I think, the situation. If you look at the history during earthquake, when the earthquake happened, people were saying about tall buildings are not busne, high-rise building are not busne. But eventually time heals that, and then now you can see people are back to high-rise buildings and taller buildings. So similarly, I think it will take some time, even psychologically. Domestically travel also is another big issue for the industry as well. That's why I think of this industry is very important. And I just want to talk about a little bit of history of our different events that we've had in the hotel industry. Going back, earthquake time, before that was 2000, early 2000 when the insurgency was. Actually, look at the numbers. 2000, you had almost 4 lakh, approximately 4 lakh plus tourists coming in. And from 2000, it started dropping down. So, I mean, that was the height period of the insurgency or political instability in the country. So the fact is that only one nation, Hamro nation, ko matra problem ba. So what was the recovery time that actually took place for a hotel? That same 4 lakh tourist course is almost 5 to 6 years it took. So 2000 it was 4 lakhs, approximately 4 lakhs, and only in 2006 4 lakh and 5 lakhs in Nathalio. So you look at the number of years that have gone, it's almost 4 to 5 years. And that was only our problem because there was Nepal political instability currently. But Ailika's situation is completely different because this is a global pandemic. This is not only our problem, but this is a global problem. I think the average time period that's going to take for us to recover will be either similar or even higher than what is to be seen in the past history. Okay? So similarly, I think even during the earthquake, we still had tourists coming in forms of different aids coming in, trying to help our army and NGOs, INGOs or IRATIO. So hotel industry was okay. We were not good, but we managed to survive. And the revival period was comparatively shorter because almost in a year or so. But like I said, again, because of this pandemic, COVID-19, and because of the global, it's going to take a lot of time for it to recover in a normal scale, what we were having in 2018 or 19.
Very true. So because as you said, I'm like 2020, let's forget about 2020. I mean, expecting anyone to come in 2021, Pani, as you said, should be the time for us to wait. And maybe 2022, he's saying the country should brand for Visit Nepal. And also in the meantime, we do all our homework to make sure we attract the tourists in a proper way. And let's expect June time हाम्रो विभिन्न political instability ले गरेर from 2000 to 2006 जुन लामो gap मा मात्रै we were able to get the amount of tourists that we were desiring त्यति लामो समय फेरि नलागोस् and we come out with a solution for this. And with this I have a data with me from the ministry also. So 1.17 million international tourists visited Nepal in 2019. Out of which India was the main country to send a lot of tourists with 2,09,611, and China in the second place with 1,69,543 tourists, and also USA on the third place with 93,196. So China being the second most the country which sends tourists to Nepal, they stand in the second list. So अब चाइनामा जुन pandemic completely lockdown भएको छ र भोलिको दिनमा पनि China will not have an easy situation to go with. So how do you look at that situation? How will we be able to attract the Chinese people?
Is that question for me or Shreejana ma'am?
This is for you, sir.
Just general.
Continuing with the question.
Okay, so I think globally looking at our Nepal's location, what in one of the B's in business is, and Nepal couldn't be in a better location than in between the biggest economies in the world. So definitely it's a challenge for us to, again, how to attract tourist ko kura hai, specifically Indian and Chinese ko kura huncha haina. Now, I mean, I see a lot of people saying that we should go for religious tourism, we should go for similar kind of tourism. The day, it again comes down to, I mean, this is my personal view again, the convenience and the travel. How convenient is it to travel in a country ko kura huncha haina. If when I travel globally, I mean, it is so tourist friendly. It is everything infrastructure wise is made for, of course, the local people, but also to make it easy for international clients as well. But then unfortunately, infrastructure itself is so weak that it is kind of, I mean, very shameful to say, okay, come to our country because it's beautiful. Yes, naturally beautiful, but then everything is not only depending on nature. You still need certain minimum, standards that internationally we have. So we get our standards, according to the global international standards, it's going to be very difficult for us to even attract, let's say, a mid to higher end tourists coming in from whether China or India. But if we can do that, I mean, there are so many things, possibilities. Let's look at some of the countries that are there. Like, let's say, for example, Switzerland. Switzerland is a tax haven, for example. So I don't know that we could be something like that. For example, I mean, I'm going a little off topic, but globally, economy-wise, let's say, naturally, Nepal, let's say there is, what do you call it? Marijuana is natural, for example, right? Now, US has come to a point where if you see the economy, and if you see the states' economy that are growing, for example, Colorado hosts, California hosts, legalizations of these will be economy. I know it's kind of a social paradox, but and I see some even politicians even voting to actually legalize, and I think that's a big source of revenue that can come in to the country. Again, this is a little off topic, but I mean, just to see what are the chances of and exactly. I think more or less, I think if you can increase our standards of our infrastructure, that would be really help in increasing the tourism industry as well.
Very true. So let's expect we are able to attract them. So I mean, in the course of our discussion, ma'am, I would like to take one question from our viewer. So we have Mr. Rajesh Acharya. So he has a question for us, and I would like you to answer, ma'am, for this. Recently, news portal have announced that latest 2% reduction in rate by government prompt more than 10 banks to go in loss. Please clarify the issue, Vanessa. So what do you have to say about this?
So you mean to say that 2 banks are going to go in a loss?
Yes.
That about your bank, I really cannot answer. But even that 2% which the government has announced is just like, it's not going to help us at all. So regarding the banks, त्यसले के अफेक्ट गर्छ बैंकलाई त्यो चाहिँ म अलिकति त्यो आन्सर चाहिँ गर्न मलाई अलि गाह्रै हुन्छ बैंकको सम्बन्धमा.
I think I would like to add to this, Bivechan. I think when we're talking about the banks, not specifically this 2%, but in generally speaking, like Shreejana ma'am said, like a lot of the new hotels are built on heavy loans that individuals have taken to build these beautiful properties around Nepal. So now the danger is basically, the banks are involved in the hospitality industry as well. So if the government does not support or help the industry collapses, so it has a cascading effect even in banks. A lot of banks will also be affected with that loan factor. And when you talk about banks, our money is in the bank, So there's a big, and it's something that the government should look into something seriously. And adding to that, as a youth, I mean, to be honest, I think Shreejana ma'am also knows that we are trying to involve youth in hand also now. So the situation that the country has created, or the government has created, is so sad that the youth is kind of feeling demotivated to really kind of, do something for the society, do something for the economy. Because I talk to my fellow hotelier friends, I talk to my fellow friends who are in similar kind of or different industry, and I dread being born in this country because this is such a messed up situation where we have no support. You look at international, global, the governments are doing so many different, but at least the announcements have been made. Just giving some examples. For For example, Australia has announced 1,500 Australian dollars for all employees working for a certain period of time. Even smaller countries such as Indonesia, for example, are doing you're doing VAT refunds. Okay, they might not be paying directly to the investor, but they're doing things like VAT refunds. What they have collected, they might be giving the investors so that they can sustain their business, so that they can prolong the time of when they will hit cash negative in Himalaya. So things like that is there from the government's side to help the industry. But unfortunately, our till date, we haven't heard anything. And Han per se we have been going almost for about 2.5 months. We've been going to different industry, different ministers to say, okay, these are our problems. These are the dangers that could happen if we don't get support. We've been showing red flags. And unfortunately, till date, we haven't heard any positive or any news from them regarding how they're going to support us, how they're going to support the industry. So that is kind of sad. As a youth, I'm from the youth side. That's what I'm saying, and it's a similar feeling with every people, the younger people who are working in a similar industry or who have their own businesses.
Very true. I mean, the industry expects from the government at least to do their homework properly and to come ahead in helping the tourism industry or the hospitality industry as a whole. So with this, ma'am, I continue with you again. Has there been any discussion with the government, tourism ministry or travel association or any national or local association in connection with the current situation and the way ahead?
Very much so, because, with all the concerned ministries, we have been addressing our issues. And like Rahul said, that we actually didn't get a very good response, and other countries were coming up with their package, and we didn't see that, they should at least look at what the other neighboring countries, but let's not go very far to the west, but Asia, this sandarbhama, उहाँहरूले कस्तो प्याकेज ल्याउनु भएको छ त्यो सबै अध्ययन गरेर हाम्रो क्वेशन्सहरूलाई सुनेर, like when I talk to you about those 8 pointers, we have so many wish lists, but we've done so much of homework to really streamline exactly what we want. So chahe त्यो राष्ट्र बैंकसँग होस्, labor ministry, tourism ministry, finance ministry, in all the ministries that we are connected, we haven't left one place also to say that we have not done our lobbying part. We've done that pretty well, but then unfortunately the response hasn't been very encouraging for us. So त्यही कारणले गर्दाखेरि पनि certain strong decisions we had to take, whether what will the outcome be, but then sometimes what happens is, you run out of time, and this is a time that we really can't afford to wait. So like I said, that there has been a very small package that has come out, which is very, very insignificant. And we have been saying this package will come, which hasn't come. But then on the budget matter, they have been doing a lot of virtual meeting and even asking us to come and give us our views and all that. Now, hopefully with all that, this budget will be favorable for tourism. Here I talk about tourism because I feel हाम्रो नेपालको अर्थतन्त्रलाई सबभन्दा टेवा दिने tourism हो र प्रकृतिले पनि, the country is gifted with agriculture. We do support agriculture. You hear about all the vegetables getting wasted, all that. Why? Is because the support comes from the tourism, you see. So directly or indirectly, you can imagine, they even say statistically that when one tourist arrives to our country, nearly 9 to 12 people benefit, from the taxi drivers to the the agriculture, somebody to the tea, to everything. So you can understand that how important this sector is for Nepal. So I hope the government understands the situation and takes a responsibility how to save this industry.
Yeah, with this regard, ma'am, so do you have any specific message to give to the government or any concerned entities on, as you said, एकदम सानो मात्रामा relief package को, I mean, यो कुरा आएको हामीले सुनेको छ. So is there any specific message that you would like to put forward?
What I want to tell the government, or even the general public, is like when Rahul said that it is not just a nation issue that we will bounce back tomorrow with our friendly neighbors or with our friends all over the world to help us bounce back. Now, this, as we said, is a global pandemic, and I don't think so we really have the time. I don't think so we can afford to go ahead by saying, we'll take things as it comes. We can't. So they really need to have to do their research properly, and they need to come up with a plan very soon, because if things get delayed, then during the 2004 to 5, few hotels, prominent hotels, had to close down because the government did not address the issue. And today these hoteliers say maybe that was the decision we made was right, because at least we didn't lose our property. So decisions has to be taken right on time. If you wait, then time doesn't wait for anybody.
Very true, ma'am. So Rahul, so what's your take on this? What do you think should be the role of government at this time and in days to come?
No, I think I totally agree with what Shreejana ma'am said, Aina. See, I think the thing is, if taking back to the example of the 2000s when the insurgency was happening, there are certain hotels that closed, and why they had similar issues. What Shreejana ma'am brought up. One was the bank issue. The second was the HR cost, and third was the smaller hotels like but that was the rental cost. Now talking about HR cost, strong. We don't want to. The thing is, our goal is to how do we make the industry survive. If the industry survives, so does its employees. That has to be kept in mind. If the industry is not there, employees cover salary 12.5 host, 50% host, 100% host, it doesn't really matter because the industry itself is not there. So I think that's something that the government should really think about, of how to sustain or how to save the industry. And if you save the industry, then they can save the employees as well. So that's a big challenge that they have. And I understand that 12.5%, what Han has taken out, is a very nominal number. Our math, we have all done our current cash cash in hand, 25%, how much can we last? If you do 50%, how much can we last? If you do 75%, how much can we last? And trust me, believe me, I'm talking about from my own hotel's perspective. I mean, we are looking at a month or 2 months as a maximum that we can stretch. So then the issue
received the required occupancy for any hotel to run the business is at least 40% or maybe max 50%, but we are down to 0 right now. So how do you see hotels branding themselves in days to come? And will we be, observing or will the hotel industry be offering a cheaper tariff for the rooms? What will be the scenario?
First of all, I'd like to go back to what I had said earlier, saying that this is going to be a global competition in the hospitality industry. It's not only for Nepal itself. So that itself is a big challenge, number one. Number two, I think, really talk about, I think majority of the hotels globally will go for your specific pandemic related issue, which is the sanitization of the whole property grounds. So I see a lot of hotels really advertising on how safe they are to stay in, or how safe they are to eat in the property itself. So I think in terms of branding, I think a lot of housekeeping / sanitations will be advertised in coming future. And that's relevant because people are worried about getting the virus, if there are the possibilities of getting different kind of issues there. So that's one thing that I think majority of the hotels will do, because if you really look at the hotel sector, a lot of it is already in terms of whether you call it entertainment, whether you call it even health we are already in a very high standard course now. The only difference I see is, like, for example, I think the other day I saw an ad from one of the international chains. They were advertising now the hotel industry is starting to use hospital grade cleaning chemicals or sanitizing chemicals. And so that was one of their brandings, saying that, okay, we are as sanitized as a hospital operations theater or a hospital floor. So similar things probably will be seen throughout the industry in the coming near future. Now the second question, as far as the tariff is concerned, I hope it doesn't happen. I think all hoteliers would agree to that. I hope the tariffs don't drop. But it is in Nepal's condition, definitely it will. There's a high chance that it will happen. But I would like to say to the viewers, and also if fellow hoteliers are seeing, is instead of dropping our rates down, maybe we could give more benefits in the same rate. I don't know what it is at the moment, but like, for example, if we were selling something for $50 or $100, maybe add one or two more, facilities there and keep that rate, within that same range instead of saying, okay, we're going to slash down the price to half and bring it down to $50, for example. So hopefully it won't happen, but most likely it will.
Yeah, so as you said, most likely there is a of it happening, but let's expect things to improve in days to come. Now back to Shreejana ma'am. Ma'am, what will be the scenario of small hotels or homestay, guest houses and restaurant businesses? I mean, we're talking about the big names, but what about the small businesses? Well, how do you see them? What lies ahead of them and how will they react to the impending loss of their business?
The situation for the smaller hotels is equally, they're in a very difficult situation, and it is a question mark whether they'll be able to sustain or not. But at the same time, we all have to survive. So if we can now start, situation start reviewing the WHO standard, and even the Nepal Tourism Board is coming up with standardization, which they've taken all input from all the associations, Aru. So if that also can be shared with them, whether it's a homestay or a 5-star deluxe, if we can market Nepal to say that, we are following the WHO standard, and even we have a हाम्रो standards, त्यो अनुसार you are protected भन्ने किसिमको situation लिएर आएर, अब if you look at the situation now, thank God, we are still, Kathmandu is still safe. Okay? But if this could continue, and if we can, say that we did do the lockdown on time and we did survive this, and we are now stressing on all the precaution that we need to take to make sure that our tourist goes back safe. Pani kisimko त्यसलाई priority दिएर marketing पनि अघि राहुलले भनेको जस्तै त्यसमै emphasize गर्यो भने we will have to try to save, whether it's a 5-star deluxe or homestay. But then of course, like you said, the challenge is more with them, because if the number of tourists is going to decrease, maybe I might differ from what Rahul said, because Rahul said the prices might come down. In my opinion, the prices might come up. Maybe there will be fewer tourists who's willing to pay higher price for WHO certified property than to have many tourists. पहिला त नेपालमा हाम्रो त numbers were higher, the spending capacity was less. So maybe now that strategy might change to have a tourist who is willing to spend more for their safety than to have many tourists coming in. So, we really can't say. I have a feeling a lot of strategies, a lot of mindset, a lot of things that we're seeing today might take a full 360-degree turn, So we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, so let's for the time being expect good things to happen and wait and see for the situation, as you're saying. So, but यसकै पेरिफेरीमा हामीले कुरा गर्नु पर्दा म्याम, what about the investment opportunity further in the hospitality industry? I mean, your pandemic पछि पनि, do you see possibility of investment opportunity booming, or what will be the situation?
So all depends on the control of this pandemic, you see. So when the vaccine comes, I feel कस्तो लाग्छ मलाई भने नि, हाम्रो यो जुन traveling, it has become part of our life now. Okay? Even when you look at Nepaliहरूकै सन्दर्भमा, compared to our parents, our lifestyle is much more demanding. Our lifestyle is much more stressful. So for us, it's so important that we take a break. हुन त actually भनियो भने त्यो ब्रेकले प्रोडक्टिभिटीमा पनि फरक पारेको देख्छु म त, हैन? So त्यसलाई emphasize गर्छन् नै अहिलेको generation. So I feel when you are cooped up for 1 year or 2 years, we are bound to wanting to start taking holidays. Okay? So मैले भन्न खोजेको मलाई त के लाग्छ भनेदेखि eventually it will open up, So त्यसको सन्दर्भमा जब when the vaccine comes and when people are so उनीहरूको desire is all भन्छ नि अब suppress गरेको जस्तो भयो नि, because holidaying, taking a break has become part of our life. I think that there was going to be a huge enthusiasm in that. I see that things are in control it will. My theory is when things take a dip, it is bound to come up. In my opinion, it has also been proven in the past when it takes that dip, it will come up. So, in my opinion, it will bounce back eventually. But when it bounces back in full capacity, believe me, investment shouldn't be a problem. As it is, everything's become so global now. So investment is also going to come in. But then at the same time, talking about the you're doing pandemic or vaccine at the same time. Again, I want to go back to the government to say, Batavaran for the investors. How are they protected? In the past, it has been a disaster, foreign investment. I mean, I don't want to go deeper into the, issues, but I've heard few investment that has come into Nepal has become a disaster. And in my opinion, it's really not fair to treat people like that who come with that investment thinking there's a hope, and then they go back with that kind of an experience. How do you expect more investment to come in? So with the pandemic of vaccine and with the proper system in place, there is a possibility, but all depends on how Nepalese are willing to take the challenge and how Nepalese government is going to, reform all these system and structure for a better investment, foreign investment policy.
Very true. Investment opportunity for Bholiko Dinma hours. As you said, when there is a downfall, there is also a possibility to rise again. So let's see things improve again for that also. And yay questions are related. So these hotels, resorts, homestay, and the guest houses, will they resume their operations, or are they likely to remain closed post the end of this lockdown also? Because I got a news the other day, Chitwanma, the local association over there had made a decision to close the hotels or the resorts up to Dasai. So what is the situation like? Any decision has yet been made till now?
That's for you, Rahul, I think.
Yeah, that was for you, Rahul sir.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was still. I think so. Okay, if you look at the news that's going on, a lot of news is saying that hotels have been announced closed for 6 months, right? So I don't know how many of people have seen it, but the news that came out online, it was basically a minute of our meeting that was actually leaked to the media. So what actually the plan of Han is, and Shreejana ma'am can correct me if I'm wrong. The plan is first is to get some sort of a support from the government in order to sustain the industry, right? And if there's no support and if there's no some sort of help from any other sector, that's when we will be going for another alternative, plan B, which is shutting down for some time so that the economy revives and tourists actually start flowing in. So that was the actual plan of the association, and a lot of people have interpreted it in a lot of different ways, and that generally happens when news comes out of a certain thing. So that is understandable. Now, as far as opening is concerned, I think again it really depends on logic, whether it makes sense to open or not. If let's say भोलि तपाईको लकडाउन खोल्यो भने खोलेर के गर्ने, तपाईको टुरिस्ट इन्टरनेसनल एयरपोर्ट त तपाईको अहिले पनि बन्दै छ हैन, तपाईँ इन्टरनेसनल एयरपोर्टै बन्द छ भने त टुरिस्ट आउने, there's no way that the tourists are coming in. Now in that I could ask anyone, does that make sense to open a hotel if there is no flights coming in? That's question number one. So it really depends. I think everything is really connected in this sector. तपाईको एयरलाइन चल्यो भने टुरिस्ट आउने हो, टुरिस्ट आयो भने होटल खोल्ने हो र होटल चल्ने हो. So it really depends on how and when the whole globally it actually opens. Now the scary part for the industry is a lot of these international news channels have been portraying a lot of different news from, like, let's say for example, Australia is planning to ban all outbound and inbound tourists for the rest of the year 2020, and only plan to start on 2021. So similarly, if you look at even Spain is planning on the similar line, and I think recently 2-3 days back, even America, USA was planning on the similar line, saying that okay, आफ्नो देश खोलौँला तर देश बाहिरको मान्छेलाई भित्र पनि आउन नदिने र हाम्रो मान्छेलाई बाहिर नजान्दिने for the safety and security till the vaccine is available. Of course, once the vaccine is out, it goes back to normal हो हैन. But the scary part, like I said, is if those big countries do plan to do that, then it's a big problem again for all tourism industry related industries globally, not only in Nepal but even globally. So that's something that is we have to wait and watch and see what happens in the next couple of months to see how it goes.
Very true. So, any hotels when the industry is open, I'm sure there will be fear for the people also, and even I mean the employees who are working over there. So, त्यो कुरालाई पनि नजर राखेर चाहिँ what are the safety measures that you see being applied in the hotels for the guests arriving and also for the employees?
No, I mean, of course, you've seen a lot of advertisements of international chain hotels, like I mentioned before, of especially housekeeping or sanitizing the whole property. Keeping that in mind, even how can we go beyond that is a challenge for us, because like even for our industry, a lot of the chemicals that come in is all imported, number one. So hopefully the ports will be open so that we can still continue that process. We have been doing, like a lot of the hotels have been following protocols of sanitizing a lot of your public areas, especially Tobacco, where physical, like example, Tobacco, main door handles, elevator buttons, reception counters, example. So these we have been sanitizing those spaces already. Now the question is, how long can we do that, and how long will it take for us to sustain that, and also how do we protect the employee kura? So again, I mean, this is something that no individual can say, I think, because we as a private industry, we are taking as much precaution as we can, be it wearing gloves, be it masks, be it sanitizers, be it PPE, be it face masks. I mean, those are things we can do practically, but beyond that, it's something that we would really have to think, and we would require support from maybe WHO or even the Health Ministry of Nepal.
All right, with that, so I'll take again a few questions from our viewers. So we have one question from Mr. Kishore Maharjan, and I would like to put this question to Shreejana ma'am. Ma'am, as per him, very logical statements from both the speakers, summing up the existing scenario for the hotel industry. 6 months shutdown by hand is, of course, the wisest option available. Then what beyond 6 months? How is hand planning to take up the challenge after 6 months? Tourism industry may bounce back years, and the likely traffic structure by then make it possible for the hotels to break even unless the occupancy be maintained well over 70 to 80%. On top of the restructuring and rescheduling facilities and lower interest for hotels, it would be imperative to go for at least 2-year interest capitalization, with interest amount capitalized at end of 2 years only for minimum 3 years. Government should not license any new hotels. What do you have to say about this, ma'am?
I agree with what he. Sabanda Pailata, when they were giving out the license, I think again the homework and the statistics were not in place, because rather than looking at the number of tourists coming in, there are too many beds. So we had already sensed that again a challenging time has come because of the mistake of the government issuing the license. So that was already a mistake. So like I said, we have to really, this is the right time for us to review all the mistakes we've done in the past, Manipachi. Now when we are going to give the license, we really have to again review the statistics of the arrivals of the tourists, or maybe instead of giving the license to Kathmandu, stop the Kathmandu, give it in outside Kathmandu, where that improve the standard of hotels and all that. So they can do that. So I agree with what he said about giving out the license, and how we can address this issue in the future is going back to looking at the statistics and realize that we've already spoiled it, and now in the coming years when the tourism actually bounces back, what kind of where and what standard of hotel license they should issue. So that is of course very important. And what was the other question you said? One was about the giving the license, and second is again the strategy after 6 months, right?
Yes.
Again, I have to repeat the same thing again. Like I said, we don't want to be disappointed to make a plan for a year and a half, because any plan to that length is a little bit difficult, because like I said, nobody can guarantee anything. Like I said, at the moment we see a very grim situation up to 2021. But then we can't also plan everything to 2021. We have short-term, long-term answers. So I realize a short-term plan is only till 6 months, where we are 100% sure that we are not going to see the face of a tourist in Nepal. We're looking at all the international news, and by the economists and all that. That is impossible. That is the reason why we said 6 months to save our industry. This is what we हामीले चाहिँ गभर्मेन्टसँग यो अपेक्षा गरेछौँ र हामीले यति दिन सक्छौँ भन्ने जुन योजना बनाएको छ त्यो 6 महिनालाई मात्रै हो त्यसपछि फेरि एनालाइज गरेर सिचुएसनलाई हेरेर we'll have to go forward because we really can't make that long term plan. I think 6 months is good enough to see how how things are going to look.
Very true. With that, I would again go back to Rahul sir. So there is a message from Mr. Rishtiza. Actually, more than a question, actually, it's his viewpoint, and I his message. So since अहिले यो पेन्डेमिकले हामी सबैलाई दुःख दिइरहेछ र होटल इन्डस्ट्री इन टोटल हस्पिटालिटी इन्डस्ट्रीलाई नै दुःख दिइरहेछ and even after the pandemic is over and the borders are open and the flights resume their operations, there is a possibility that people might not travel very soon. Last week हाम्रो conversation पनि I was going through the data of IATA. Just was saying when they surveyed, around 40% of the passengers gave the answer that they will not fly for at least 6 months. So after 6 months, when people slowly start flying, or maybe after 1 year when people start flying, it's obvious that financially पनि burden भइसक्यो हुन्छ मान्छेहरुलाई. So they would not opt for expensive destinations to travel. So Nepal, being one of the cheapest destinations and the beautiful destinations to travel, there is a huge possibility for tourists pouring in a good number, since we are one of the cheapest destination, and at the same time, by God's grace, अहिलेसम्म हामीलाई यो pandemicले it's been affected, तर त्यो लेभलसम्म comparatively to other countries, त्यो लेभलसम्म भएको छैन, and let's expect the things to stay the same. So if that happens, people will be secure, feel safe to come to Nepal also, and at the same time, they'll do it because it's being one of the cheap destination to come. So what's your take on this, Rahul sir?
I'd like to thank Rishtaji for that question. I disagree with Nepal being a cheap destination. I feel like, yes, that it's completely opposite. If you look at, because this goes in our industry a lot, and how we always talk about how expensive things are getting in Nepal. When a tourist comes in, it's a visa on arrival time, correct? And if you really look at the rate, per day basis matter on the visa. And whereas if you look at, let's say, for example, American visa for a tourist visa, I think it's about $100 or so, but you get that for, some people get it for even 5 years, right? Yeah. If you really break it down to per day basis, it's peanuts. तर तपाईको नेपालको visa हेरेर भयो भने, when you calculate the 5 years को rate versus तपाईको, I think, the local rate, it is much more than even getting an American visa. Okay, so it starts from right there. Secondly, I think, even though our the way I see it is, our country is poor, but our everything expensive in the country. The problem is that, and the infrastructure ekdam naramro cha, ekdam poor cha, but then you go on a taxi ride, 500, 600, 400 भन्दा कममा आउँदै आउँदैन bill, right? And look at the condition of the taxi that you stay in. Look at what condition of the taxi what the tourists have to travel in. So is that really what we are portraying, that this is Nepal bhanera, is another question. So I think portraying Nepal being a cheap destination is something that, from my perspective, is very wrong, because I feel we are not cheap. The cost of beer in our regular restaurant or bar is almost equivalent to a cost of beer in an American bar, for example. I studied there, and I know the cost of the beer there. Like $5-6 ma tapaiko euta beer आउँछ भने यहाँ पनि तपाईको cost bottle किन्दाखेरि त्यति नै हो. So I don't think that it's a cheap destination, So the fact that we try to portray ourselves as a cheap destination, and sabajana we are very sasto, we give discounted rates, I think that's a wrong message that we actually give. So this is where I think the government has to really play a vital role in providing subsidies for industries that actually provide services. For example, everything that we use is pretty much imported, right? And because our cost, and that's why our selling cost gets high because of those reasons also. So I think that's something to think about, and it's a interesting thing Rishtaji put out, because if you really look at a global perspective, we are not cheap. We are quite expensive.
All right. Having said that, light at the end of the tunnel. So let's expect tourists to come in days to come. when this pandemic is over and we going out of this situation. So with that, I would again continue with my question. Now back to Shreejana ma'am for this. Ma'am, what's your take on the scenario of hospitality industry globally? We've talked about our Nepalko, particular Nepalese industry as a कसरी impact गर्छ. So let's talk about globally, because as per the data I received from Statista, global revenue from hospitality sector will go down from 685 billion US dollar, which was previous data, to 447.4 billion US dollar, which is down by 34.7% than the previous year. So how do you look at the hospitality industry globally? What's your take on this, ma'am?
Yeah, globally, I think the scenario is definitely going to change more than luxury. It was more demand on services, luxury, all that. But now the first thing is, I think the safest that you feel wherever you want to travel, that is going to be number one priority for the for traveling purpose in coming years to come. So I think economically it's going to be quite challenging, and I think the figures is going to come down. But then we just have to face, we just have to be patient and see what is the demand then and go accordingly. But then I'm pretty confident that opportunity more than luxury, I think people are going to go for totally safety measures by Janta. So naturally, the numbers are going to bound to come down.
All right. So, Rahul sir, what's your take on this? Will hospitality sector be the same again, or are we witnessing a new era of this business?
I mean, definitely we will see some changes within the industry also. Like ma'am said, safety and security for especially health, both for employees and the guests, will be a big concern to everyone. It's a matter of fact how we're going to address it and how we're actually going to take that direction will be a key factor in really seeing how well we take the industry up.
All right. So maybe for today's session, there's a last question that I would take from the viewers, and since we are already we've crossed 1 hour time, so let's make it fast now from my end. There's a question from Mr. Preetham Shrestha. What I personally opine that the organized industries may it be manufacturing sector or service sector should set aside some percentage from annual profit in provision of contingencies and put in special reserve in order to cope with unavoidable circumstances, so their current financial statement has not to suffer loss and deep impact. However, it may affect the cash flow in the affected financial year, which would be managed from short-term borrowing from BFIs in subsidized interest rate till the period of full recovery. One can see the Nepal Accounting Standards 12 as reference. So this is more than a question, it's a message that is related. So do you have any thing to say, ma'am, on this statement?
No, I agree with what he has to say, because actually I've been set aside, but then I already explained earlier that where did we go wrong? And we've gone really wrong is after the insurgency, where there was no hire and fire bhayana. So, then our standards had to come down, because we couldn't actually pick and choose on performance basis, rather than because they were permanent allowed to choose, you see. So त्यो पनि भयो. अनि secondly चाहिँ we our percentage of our income, how much is going in for the the salary structure, and all that is not leaving us much more with that kind of a fund, which is very, very wrong in my opinion, and I agree with him 100%. So maybe this is the time for us to actually review all that and see what can be done, how we can change, how we can make our company see better figures more than just break. Because I didn't by that, when you look at the figures, oh, this hotel made this much, that hotel made this much, it raises eyebrows and say, oh, this is the industry to get in for business. People have that concept. But actually, because our running cost is very, very high, that is where we are actually failing. So if we can balance that out, because they always say with difficult times comes a lot of experience also. So I'm sure with this difficult time, we are going to experience, this difficult time is giving us an opportunity to review on all our gaps and see that, the coming, the gentleman just said that it's best that, we start looking into keeping aside certain funds rather than, we have no other choice but to run it like this. Maybe we really have to change our strategy, how to run the industry. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I mean, it's really valuable.
Very true. So, as you said, in this difficult time, there is a possibility for the hotel industry to, rectify the lapses that has been observed, and maybe arrange some fund for such situation to, avoid India's come.
I
Yes,
think I would like to add one more point to that. I think it's a great idea to have a contingency fund created by maybe not only hotels but individual organizations or private or even government organizations as well. But then I think when money is involved, there has to be some sort of a incentive or a motive that really helps people to be like, okay, because if I'm going to put X amount of money in my contingency plan, the government gives us X subsidy for that amount, for example. So that would probably help and even motivate people, not only in our industry, but all the industries to actually do that and have like a backup fund ready if and when such disasters actually occur.
very true. So that is also what the industry can do to take control of the things. Now, with that, sir, I have last question from my side. So, to start with, Shreejana ma'am, do you have any final message to give to our viewers and general public with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic?
I want to let you know, we are going through difficult times, but then there's always a light in the end of the tunnel is what we have to believe. We just have to be strong. We just have to come together in crisis like this. And we all have to know that responsibility is just not one part, but the responsibility lies for everybody from every, sector, be it government, be it private, or be it the investors or the employees. And we need to stand together rather than making this time, concentrate on politics and, bringing that situation where it is of the employees and employees. I think I think united way, if we move forward, I think that would give us a better result.
Yes, of course. Standing together at the difficult times is what matters the most. So, Rahul, so what do you have to say about this? You have any final message to give to the viewers?
I think, like Shreejana ma'am said, united we stand, divided we fall. And unfortunately, if you look at the current national scenario, it's looking all over the place, especially with the government. So hopefully they'll get their act together, and hopefully we can all unite to work for a prosperous, industry and prosperous Nepal and rebounds from this pandemic as well. And at the end of the day, I hope everyone stays safe at home and stay, social distancing.
Yes, very true. So expect positive things to happen post the end of this pandemic and we come out of this situation. So with that, we end today's discussion, and thank you so much, my guest speakers, for giving your valuable information on the topic that we discussed today. And it's been our pleasure as well. It's been our pleasure, sir, ma'am. And thank you, the viewers, for giving your questions and listening to us throughout the session, and also KFA team for making this possible. And just to remind our viewers to share this video as much as you can, and do not forget to catch us live again next week with my new guest again with a new topic to discuss. So till then, stay safe,